Let's get real for a second. Every struggle you're facing, every bit of frustration, fear, or regret, often comes down to one simple, hard truth. You're living your life for everyone except yourself. Think about it. How much of your energy goes into trying to make other people happy, to fit in, to be liked? Somewhere along the way, you started trading pieces of yourself for approval, and maybe you didn't even realize it. But here's the thing. Your time is limited. You don't get a do-over. Like Steve Jobs said, don't waste it living someone else's life. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you made a decision just for you, without worrying what anyone else would think? When was the last time you felt free enough to live boldly, without second-guessing? This video isn't it's here to shake things up, to challenge you, to help you take your life back. If there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. You don't owe the world anything, but you do owe yourself everything. Stick around, because there's a bonus at the end that might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. Lesson 1. Why living for others will always let you down. Imagine a tree that sways with every gust of wind. It never grows deep roots, never finds its strength. Now ask yourself, how often are you that tree, constantly bending to meet others' expectations? There's a quote that says, "The greatest suffering is forgetting who you are," and it's true. You weren't born to be a mirror of someone else's dreams or fears. You were born to be you. But over time, without even realizing it, you may have started chasing applause you never asked for, approval you never needed. Here's the hard truth. When you live for other people, your happiness becomes fragile. One compliment lifts you up. One judgment tears you down. That kind of life. It's like trying to build a home on shifting sand. We see this everywhere. Social media thrives on likes and validation. Society tells you what success should look like. Friends, family, co-workers, they all have opinions about how your life should go. But here's the thing, none of them live in your skin. None of them walk in your shoes. So if you're always looking to others to tell you who you are, you slowly start losing touch with your own voice. Your dreams get quieter, your confidence fades, and before you know it, you're living a life that doesn't even feel like yours, but it doesn't have to be that way. Now imagine this instead. You're like a tree with deep, steady roots. The storm comes, but you're unshaken. Why? Because you know who you are. You're grounded in your truth. That kind of strength comes from tuning in, not out, from listening to your voice over the noise of the world. That's what mindfulness is about. It's not just meditation or quiet time. It's about being fully aware of your own needs, emotions, and beliefs, without letting others drown them out. It's choosing yourself every single day. To live for yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means being honest. It means asking, what do I actually want today? It means learning to say no when you don't mean yes. It means trusting your inner compass, even when people don't get it. Start small. Each morning, check in with yourself. What do I need today, for me? Each night, ask, did I show up as my true self today? These little choices, they build powerful roots. Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. When you stop tying your peace to others' opinions, something amazing happens. You start feeling calm, steady, confident. You don't have to everyone to be worthy. You don't have to chase approval to feel whole. You're already enough, right here, right now. So stand strong, stay grounded, build a mindset that's clear, calm, and rooted in your truth, and watch how the world starts adjusting to you, not the other way around. Lesson 2. When trying to please others becomes self-betrayal. Here's a thought. You can't drink poison just to quench someone else's thirst. And yet, many of us do that every day, bit by bit. We say yes when we mean no. We smile when we're hurting. We agree with things that don't reflect who we really are. It may seem small in the moment, but each time you silence your truth to win someone's approval, you're slowly turning your back on your own soul. There's an old truth worth remembering. Every time you twist yourself to fit someone else's mold, you're stepping further away from who you truly are. You weren't made to live as someone else's version of enough. You were made to live as you, fully and unapologetically. When you chase praise or cling to acceptance, you're handing over your identity. You're putting on masks just to be liked. And after a while, you forget what your real face even looks like. Let me ask you this. Where in your life are you drinking that poison just to be accepted? Where are you shrinking, hiding, or pretending just to keep the peace? This habit starts early. We're taught that being loved means being agreeable, that being accepted means keeping things easy for others, even if it's hard on ourselves. At work, in families, in friendships, we feel the pressure to please, to avoid conflict, to stay quiet. But here's the cost. Over time, you lose touch with yourself. Your dreams fade, your voice dims, and that vibrant, clear version of who you are, like a mountain spring, gets clouded. You can't see your reflection anymore. The good news? You can clear those waters. Mindfulness teaches us to honor our experience, to listen inward without guilt, without waiting for permission. That quiet inner voice, it's there, it's patient, and it's full of truth. Sure, pleasing others might feel kind, but real compassion, it starts with self-respect. You can't pour into others if you're always running on empty. You can't give love from a place of self-abandonment. So here's the question. Who might you become if you stopped betraying your own needs? What goals might you chase? What peace might finally be possible? You don't need to flip your life upside down overnight. Start small. When someone asks for your time, pause and ask yourself, do I really want to do this, or am I afraid to say no? When you're faced with a decision, check in. What feels true to me, not just easy or expected? And begin to set boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect what's sacred in you. Like a garden, your spirit needs care, not constant depletion. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the universe, deserve your love and affection. That's not just a quote. It's a call to action. You weren't put here to be a background character in your own story. You weren't meant to burn out just to keep others warm. So take your power back. Build a strong, calm and clear mind. When you stop living for approval and start living from within, that's when true freedom begins. Lesson 3. Let people dislike you and still rise. Here's something worth remembering. The sun never apologizes for shining too brightly. It just rises, confidently, effortlessly, knowing that some will bask in its warmth, while others may shy away. And guess what? You're no different. True freedom begins when you accept that not everyone will like you, and that's perfectly okay. But too often, we dim our light. We shrink ourselves, tone things down, or stay quiet. Not because it feels right, but because we're afraid of being disliked. We treat approval like oxygen, when really it's just a craving we've been taught to chase. Think about it. Why does the fear of being misunderstood or judged weigh more heavily than the cost of losing yourself? Buddhist wisdom reminds us, attachment to reputation is a subtle form of suffering. When you constantly try to be liked, you drift further from who you truly are. You wear a version of yourself that was designed for someone else's comfort, not your own truth. And in a world where social media, jobs, and even friendships can feel like performance stages, it's tempting to keep acting, to keep fitting in. But here's the truth. You were never meant to fit into every hand that reaches for you. You were meant to become so rooted in who you are that no amount of criticism can shake you. Picture this. What if the sun hesitated every morning, unsure if the world would welcome its light? What if it stayed hidden just to avoid being too much? The world would be dimmer, and every time you hold back who you are just to be accepted, your world dims too. So what would happen if you stopped explaining yourself? If you stopped needing approval to chase your dreams? What would open up if you trusted your light, even when others don't? The people meant for your journey will stay. The ones who can't handle your shine, they were never your people to begin with. Letting others dislike you isn't rude. It's respecting yourself. It's saying, this is who I am. I don't need to be edited for someone else's comfort. Start small. Next time you feel the need to defend a decision or explain your truth, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, I'm not here to be understood by everyone. I'm here to understand and honor myself. If someone judges you, let it go. Their opinion, that's their weight to carry, not yours. You don't need to wear armor to walk through life. Trusting yourself silently is power enough. The Buddha said, do not look for a sanctuary in anyone except yourself. That's where real peace is found. Not in convincing others, but in being completely aligned with your own truth. So rise, like the sun. Shine without apology. You don't need permission to be who you are. And always remember, those who are truly meant for your light will never ask you to dim it. Build that strong, steady mind rooted in calm, kind thoughts, and you'll finally begin living the free, bold life you were always meant to lead. Picture a mountain. It doesn't move when the wind howls or when the sun shines. It doesn't rise higher when praised or shrink when criticized. It simply is. Strong, still, grounded. You have that same power within you. Real self-respect begins when other people's opinions stop controlling your emotions. But be honest. How many times have you traded your peace just to feel accepted? How many dreams have you paused? How many truths have you silenced just to avoid being judged? Ask yourself, whose approval are you still waiting for, and why do they get to decide your worth? Here's the truth. The more you depend on others to feel worthy, the more fragile your confidence becomes. It's like chasing shadows, always reaching, never resting. Buddhism teaches that clinging to external validation is just another form of suffering. When you let other people's praise define your value, you're handing them the remote control to your happiness. But there's another way. Mindfulness shows us how to reclaim that power, how to build self-worth that doesn't rise and fall with someone else's opinion. Instead of chasing applause, you start listening to your own heart. And when that happens, something shifts. Imagine this, one full day where you don't measure your value by how many people like your post, compliment your work, or agree with your decisions. Imagine waking up already feeling enough before anyone else even says a word. What would you do differently if you didn't need anyone's permission to believe in yourself? What passions would you chase? What boundaries would you finally enforce? When your self-worth comes from within, you become unstoppable. Not because you shout the loudest, but because you don't shake when the world pushes back. Compliments won't make you arrogant. Criticism won't break you. You'll move with purpose, not performance. That's what real freedom looks like, not needing a spotlight to shine. So, how do you start? It's in the little moments. Before you post something, ask, am I doing this because it feels right to me, or am I hoping someone else will validate it? Before you seek advice, pause and check in. Do I already know what I want? The Buddha said, no one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. You were never meant to live for likes. You were born to live in truth. You were always enough, before the praise, before the approval, before the world ever noticed. So stand tall, like the mountain. Let your spirit be rooted in calm, positive thoughts. Stop shrinking to fit someone else's frame of worth. Start rising in your own. You don't need 1,000 hands clapping to be worthy. All you need is to remember who you are. Lesson 5. Why living for yourself isn't selfish. Let's dive into something important. Why living for yourself isn't selfish. Think about it. You can't pour from an empty cup. Yet, how often do you find yourself giving pieces of your energy, your time and your heart when you've barely got anything left to give? We're conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish, but the truth is much deeper, and it's rooted in ancient wisdom. Caring for yourself isn't selfish. It's the highest form of service you can offer the world. When you're full, you give freely, without resentment or exhaustion. But when you're running on empty, even your kindness feels strained, and eventually you have nothing left to give. So ask yourself, are you nourishing yourself as much as you nourish others? Buddhism teaches that true compassion starts with you. You cannot pour love into others if you're empty inside. Picture trying to light 1,000 lamps with a candle that's barely glowing. What you offer others is always a reflection of the state of your own heart. If you're depleted, you pass on emptiness. But if you're whole, you share light. Living for yourself isn't about being selfish or self-centered. It's about creating a foundation within yourself that is so strong and steady that the love, wisdom, and compassion you offer others comes effortlessly and freely without expecting anything in return. In today's world, self-sacrifice is often celebrated. We're told to be everything for everyone, to give until there's nothing left. But here's the deeper truth. The greatest service you can give the world is to first become a sanctuary for yourself. Only when you are full can you truly pour into others. Imagine the difference it would make in your life if you treated yourself as sacred. What dreams would you finally pursue? What boundaries would you set without guilt? What if you started protecting your peace, your energy, and your truth? Not out of selfishness, but out of deep respect for the life you've been given. When you honor your own needs, you teach others to do the same. You set an example of self-love and self-respect. You give them permission to stop sacrificing themselves too, and this is where the real ripple of compassion begins. When you take care of yourself first, you don't give from obligation, you give from a place of genuine presence. You offer your time, your energy, your love because you want to, not because you feel you should. Start today by making a promise to yourself. Take a moment to listen inward before rushing outward. Offer yourself the patience and care you so willingly offer to others. Tend to your inner peace before you try to heal or help someone else. Buddhism teaches us to come home to ourselves first, to breathe, to observe, to heal. And from this rooted place, true giving becomes natural, effortless, and free. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Remember this, you were never meant to burn out for others. You were meant to shine brightly for yourself, and in doing so, light the way for everyone around you. So build a strong, disciplined mind, rooted in calm and positive thoughts. Let your own fullness become the greatest gift you can give to the world. Lesson 6. What happens when you focus on your own standards? Let's talk about what happens when you start focusing on your own standards. Think about an artist who creates just to get applause. Somewhere along the way, they forget what real beauty is. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into a piece of art, only to abandon it the moment the crowd goes silent. That's what happens when we live for approval, constantly creating, achieving, and existing to meet others' expectations. But Buddhism offers us a powerful reminder. Live by your own standards, not someone else's. Real peace begins the moment you stop defining success by how others see you, and start measuring it by how you feel within. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, whose standards are shaping your life right now? In today's world, it's so easy to be swept up by the pressure, social media, cultural expectations, family traditions, all silently urging you to follow a path that may not even be yours. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that chasing someone else's idea of success is like chasing the horizon. You'll never reach it. And worse, you'll lose yourself along the way. Instead, we're called to practice a deeper form of mindfulness. Set your own standards, walk your own path, let go of the need to impress. Imagine living a life where success isn't defined by likes, titles, or applause, but by the quiet sense of fulfillment you feel when you close your eyes at night. Picture setting goals that reflect your truth, not what's popular, but what's meaningful. That kind of success doesn't need validation. It simply is. What if your only competition was the person you were yesterday? When you stop measuring your life by someone else's timeline, you stop rushing. You begin to walk at your own pace, guided by an inner compass that no one else can control or define. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but with time and practice, it transforms everything. It's a choice you make in each moment. Instead of wondering, what will they think? Ask yourself, what feels true for me? Buddhist wisdom reminds us that clarity and truth are not found in the noise of the world, but in the quiet, steady knowing of your own heart. When you begin to live by your own standards, life itself becomes a meditation. Each decision, each small step, becomes a brushstroke in the artwork of your life. So start by setting internal goals. Rather than saying, I need to impress them, say, I'll express my creativity today. Instead of, I must be seen as successful, say, I'll stay true to my values. Internal goals are powerful. They shift your focus inward. They remind you that you are the creator of your life, not a performer in someone else's play. You're no longer trapped in the race of comparison. You move forward steadily, peacefully, toward a life that is deeply your own. As the Buddha said, your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. Your life is not a performance. It's a sacred creation. Only you can shape it. So pause, breathe, and remember this. You already have everything you need to live your truth. When you stop creating for the crowd and begin creating for your soul, that's when true beauty returns. Build a strong, focused mind, anchored in calm thoughts and positive energy. Live guided by the masterpiece within you, not by the applause of others. Lesson 7. Why your worth was never meant to be negotiated. A diamond doesn't argue its value in the market, it simply shines. Its worth is not determined by who notices it or how loudly it's praised. It exists in quiet certainty. The same is true for you. Yet so many of us live as though our worth depends on who accepts us, who praises us, who stays, or who leaves. But Buddhist wisdom teaches something deeper. Your very existence is proof of your worth. You don't have to earn the right to be here. You don't need to fight for love, respect, or dignity. They are already yours by birth. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you still trying to prove yourself? Where are you bargaining for the value that should never be up for debate? From an early age, society conditions us to believe that our worth is tied to how much we achieve, how we look, or how many people approve of us. So, we adapt. We hustle for praise, shrink ourselves to fit in, and wear masks just to feel seen. But Buddhism offers a gentler way, a path of radical self-acceptance. Just like a mountain doesn't need to justify its height or a river its flow, you don't need to explain why you matter. You are enough, just as you are. No title, no validation, no performance can add to that truth. Imagine the freedom you'd feel if you no longer gave your worth away. If instead of wondering, "Am I good enough for them?" you affirmed, "I am whole, just as I am." Picture yourself moving through life with the grounded steadiness of the earth, unmoved by opinions, unshaken by the changing tides of others' perceptions. Pause and ask yourself, what changes when you stop negotiating your worth? When you no longer explain, apologize, or overextend just to feel accepted? Real love, real peace, and real connection don't come from being approved by others. They begin the moment you approve of yourself. Buddhism teaches us that clinging to external validation only creates suffering. It locks us in a cycle of craving and disappointment. True freedom begins when you recognize this truth. Your value has never been in question. It's already whole, already complete, already yours. Start noticing the moments when you feel the need to prove or perform. Ask gently, "Am I seeking permission to be myself right now?" In those moments, take a breath. Return to your center. Remind yourself, "I am already enough, not because of what I do, but because of who I am." This is not arrogance. This is authenticity. This is the quiet strength that grows from self-respect. It grounds you in a peace that no praise or criticism can disturb. As the Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Your worth is not a goal to achieve or a role to earn. It is your birthright. You were never meant to be auctioned. You were meant to shine. So build a calm, clear, and disciplined mind, anchored in truth and positive thought. Live each day as proof of your priceless existence. And if these words brought you clarity, please like and share this message. Tell us your reflections in the comments for more empowering wisdom to help you walk your path in peace and strength.